I want to educate you on you. I want to empower you in times of adversity, and I want to equip you to heal yourself because you can. Welcome to season 1 of my podcast, Unshrinkable. Hi, I'm Emily Katz. My guest and I are here to help you find what works for you beyond traditional therapy and mainstream meds. Hello, everybody. Today we have the lovely Liz with us, a female money coach dedicated to helping women master their relationship with money for a secure future. Liz's 13-year journey from financial struggle to success is super inspiring. She's faced challenges like navigating a Ponzi scheme, financial infidelity, and managing debt, emerging with a multi-six-figure savings and investments in real estate. Liz's clients have seen profound transformations in their financial confidence and strategies, crediting her guidance for empowering shifts in their approach to investing and banking. Now, Liz is on a mission to share her insights and bridge the knowledge gap among women. Join us as we discuss overcoming financial trauma, shifting mindsets, and achieving abundance. Yes, I am so ready for this conversation. I really have been looking forward to it. So Liz, please, hi, and please introduce yourself and specifically how you got here doing what you do.
Thank you so much for having me. And you are so cute through the screen. I can honestly feel your energy. It's amazing to be here. So my name is Liz or Elizabeth. I'm a female money coach and the founder of Fem Funds, which is an online education platform specifically for women to empower them with the skills and confidence to build wealth. I guess in terms of my journey, it's been a long one. Just a bunch of, as you've mentioned, a bunch of financial challenges I had to learn to overcome as I, came of age, as I'm still coming of age as well. I'm 32, so I don't want to age myself even more, but just a lot of financial hurdles that I had to learn how to overcome as I went from being a teenager into adulthood. And so, I overcame those challenges. And then in 2020, when COVID hit, I started talking a lot about what was happening with the stock market to a lot of my female friends. None of them knew what I was talking about. And to be honest, I was completely shocked. And that was how Fem Funds was born. I started with teaching every single one of the girlfriends in my group of friends individually. And then slowly that evolved into an online education platform. And now we're 3 years in the business. I've helped hundreds of women so far, hosting free masterclasses. I have a free ebook. I do individual coaching, group coaching, an online course, individual sessions, whatever is needed to help women struggle with whatever their financial troubles may be, whether it's sticking to a budget, paying off debt, wanting to learn how to invest, investing in their first property, and things of that nature. So thank you for having me and looking forward to our combo.
Amazing. I love seeing how people found their path, and it was it came naturally, just kind of emerges and evolves from, just life experience happening. And then you finding okay, this is something that I can help people with and do. And I love that. What is your, you said that in 2020, you were shocked that your friends didn't understand what the hell they were doing when it came to money. Where did your knowledge come from?
Wow. Okay. So I guess if we were to go back to when I was 16 or 17, a senior in high school. So I grew up in New Jersey, so the suburbs of New York City. A lot of people within my community, like my friends' parents, were these hotshot Wall Street executives, but my parents are from Russia. So I was this first generation American, and we grew up middle class, obviously very fortunate, had everything, but nowhere near a lot of my peers whose parents were literally the Wolf of Wall Street. And so because my parents were exposed to these lifestyle, the standard of living in this lifestyle that a lot of people in the suburbs of New York City were leading, they basically realized that I needed to learn how to invest. And so my dad gave me a gift of $5,000, which obviously was very, very fortunate, especially for a 17-year-old, and was you need to learn how to invest in the stock market because this $5,000 that I'm giving you is all I'm ever going to give you. This is going to be your future wedding money. And this is your life. This is your future trust fund. So figure it out. And so, yeah, right. Literally a child.
Very nice of him. On the other hand, it's pressure.
Oh, for sure. Also, I think the pressure was in the fact that my parents, in the Russian culture, it is very much expected that your parents will take care of you until you graduate college. But as soon as the tables kind of flip, it is on you to take care of them in old age. Like, forget about sending them into a home. Like, they are moving right back in with you. You need to support them and take them on vacation and like things of that. So I always grew up with the mentality that there will be a day where I need to literally do everything that my parents did for me. Fortunately, we're still not there yet, but it's always been something that like sits inside of my head. So yeah, they basically gave me that 5K was like, you need to figure out how to invest. And they were like, your best friend's dad is on Wall Street. It's her little brother who can ask her dad. And so my best friend from high school, her 14-year-old brother, he was a freshman when we were seniors, literally opened up an account for me and invested for me based off of what his dad told him to do. And he kind of didn't really teach me anything. And then later when I was in college, when my parents went through the Ponzi scheme, and then it was like, I don't know if you know what a Ponzi scheme is.
Feel free to explain for those.
Okay, so a lot of stories, like a massive timeline here. Then when I was a junior in college, my parents became victims to a Ponzi scheme, which is where they invested their money with someone who ended up stealing everything they invested. They invested with someone in the community, a financial advisor, someone that was registered and someone they trusted personally. And he ended up just like stealing everything that they had for retirement. So then I needed to take out student loans for about 1 year of school in the United States. So that was a massive hurdle that I had to kind of like come to terms with when I still was a kid partying in college, like still wasn't managing money, earning money, didn't really care, to be honest. And then that's when I started checking the investments I had made from when I was in high school. And then I just asked the boys in the business school to hold my hand again and teach me and show me what they were doing. I learned a lot back then. And then again, later on, this is like a whole coming of age tale over the last 15 years. But then when I went from college into when I turned, I think like 26 or 27, I was in a really desperate financial pickle and I didn't have any money at this point. I was in debt, depleted all of my savings, was unemployed, and I really needed money. So I was like frantically, desperately looking wherever I could turn. And I had remembered that I had that account that I started with my friend's little brother, kind of checked in on it in college. And then again, like 6-7 years later, I checked on it again. And that money had exponentially grown. Like, I think it was like 8 times the amount that I had put in. So it was no longer 5K. It was significantly more. Granted, I did have some too lucky investments. Like, it wasn't normal growth. It was very, not normal, but I was fortunate and that money became my lifeline to start my life from scratch, leave a toxic relationship, move to a different city, start fresh. And I think that's when I became really obsessed with investing because I actually saw the power of it. And I think I was first of all, I was a bit older, so I was automatically a bit more mature. I'd gone through some of my own life experiences that forced me to become, again, a bit more mature. And then I became obsessed with bettering my financial circumstances, investing. I restarted my career from scratch, like my corporate career. Every additional dollar I would earn, I would put towards their bonuses, this, that. And then I've become obsessed with this whole investing concept. There's a movement called FIRE, which is called Financial Independence, Retire Early. And so I'm really into it, not necessarily like a lot of other people, but I've learned a lot after following it for the last few years. Continue to learn, of course, and of course help as much as I can because I really do believe knowledge is power. And I don't think I would have learned I wouldn't have recognized the opportunity had I not seen it right in front of my face. And yeah, so that's the long story short. It's still.
By the way, what did you study at college? Just by the by.
Well, again, very Russian family. I studied economics and finance and Spanish.
Okay. And I had another question. You mentioned this other term, financial infidelity. We said that we would talk about it as well. Is that something that you could also just explain? I know we said we'll talk about financial trauma. So on your timeline, if you want to start with
this is all trauma.
It is all trauma. But yeah, would you like to define that for us?
Yeah, sure. So financial infidelity is essentially when your partner, your romantic partner, whether it's a boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, etc., ends up betraying your trust financially. So it's kind of like with regular infidelity, they're just, physically cheating on you. This is where they're financially cheating on you. And it can look like many different things. Like, for example, maybe one person has secret accounts Maybe they're not being fully transparent about anything from their income to their spending habits to how much money they actually have and like what they're doing with their money. It could be someone opening up accounts in your name and like stealing your identity. It could be someone using money as a means to control you. So if you've ever seen the Netflix series Made, really recommend it. But that's a really good, it's a phenomenal series, but it's a really good story in which it depicts how a partner financially abuses the other and uses money as a means to control the other. So it can look like many different things, let's say.
Okay. Thank you. I will be watching that.
Yeah.
So, the more I go down the rabbit hole of self-development, spiritual development, self-healing, the more I'm finding myself, the more I build a business, the more I find myself doing money mindset work and, the shifting, kind of limiting beliefs and money blocks and all these different terms that they have for it. But when it comes to, at the end of the day, like it's rooted in trauma, right? Like trauma and conditioning, it's always at the root. So when it comes to the money, the financial trauma, what kind of thing so we have the infidelity, but what other kind of things are there when it comes to financial trauma?
Oh my God. I mean, it could be endless. It could be, on one hand, it could be someone who grew up in extreme poverty and, their family had a really poor relationship with money and didn't have any disposable income. So it could lead to people making fun of you for not having enough things, materialistic things, I mean. On the other hand, maybe your parents have an endless amount of money and therefore you live with the expectation that you will always be financially abundant. But as a result of that, you're never actually independent. Instead, you're actually dependent on someone else to provide for you. So you can't really like fend for yourself in the real world. Maybe people grew up with like a super frugal and cheap mindset. So you can't really justify spending and therefore you miss out on life experiences, like simple things like going to a concert, you know what I mean? And not just a Taylor Swift concert. I mean like everyday type of concerts, or maybe taking out student loans in the United States. I don't know how many people within your community are from the US, but student loans in the US are quite normalized. However, it's when you walk out into the real world that you realize how screwed you are, because you're 18 when you can take out hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt without actually understanding what that means for you and how much and your future once you start work. The Ponzi scheme, the financial infidelity. Maybe you grew up in a household which never used credit cards and was afraid of it. So you only grew up with the mentality of utilizing cash. And therefore you limit your ability to build credit, take out loans, to buy a house. There's so many things. It's just, we all have our own bits and pieces to it.
100%.
So what makes us unique?
I want to just add to that as well. I think I see it in the notes on what we said, the generational trauma as well. Like, for example, I think there's a lot of not only the amount of money your parents have or don't have, but what they were taught about money, or what your grandparents had, or what your great grandparents had. And like, it does kind of feel like it kind of filters down and with you, because they were taught by their parents and they were taught by their parents and they were, so it's like the conditioning and the intergenerational, trauma that we get in that respect as well.
100%. And I think anyone who grew up with immigrant parents automatically has some sort of like financial trauma, because your parents, go through these drastic life changes that until you actually immigrate yourself somewhere else, you don't really understand what that means and like what struggles they're going through. So you don't really empathize with their journey so much. But oftentimes these immigrants are living in survival mode. So they just want to stick to what's secure, the safest path possible, however that looks like to them. So whatever that looks like to them, they're going to teach you as like the law of how to navigate life. And there's no real room for your own unique exploration, because within immigrant households, it's like they're judging you or criticizing you if you do something that can be perceived as unconventional or just different. It doesn't even need to be so unconventional, just different to what they did. I don't know if you have any experience with that.
Very important. No, that's a very important point. And I mean, the thing that was jumping to mind as well was like Holocaust survivors, and then the scarcity mindset of like it's rationed and whatnot. And I hear so many stories of, that it's like still from there, but yeah. Okay. So what do we do about it?
I mean, okay, a lot of things. I think first if you want to overcome any of your financial trauma, I think we need to start with understanding how our upbringing shapes our perspectives and actions towards money into adulthood. We can identify our own specific limiting money beliefs or money mindset, also our own money affirmations. Might sound really stupid, but honestly, I feel like writing down and kind of like speaking into the universe the things that you want to get rid of and also the things that you want to adopt or attain helps actually manifest it into real life. But I think it's really important to create these money goals. So I always tell people to create SMART goals. Do you know what the acronym SMART stands for?
Yeah, but feel free to share it for those who don't.
Cool. So SMART means specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. So these goals, make them very specific and then reverse engineer what the baby steps are needed to actually attain each specific goal. So for example, let's say you want to have, I don't know, like $12,000 saved by the end of the year. So then reverse engineer. If you want to achieve 12K in 12 months, how much do you need to save? 1,000 divided by 12, $1,000 every single month that you need to save for the next year in order to get there, right? So you're working, you're reverse engineering and working backwards and making these goals smaller. That way they can feel a bit more attainable. Of course, I just use an easy number for the calculation. But
yeah,
obviously, whatever number feels good to you, even if it's $100 or $50, it doesn't matter what the number is. The point is that you make it something that feels within reach and something that you feel like you can actually achieve. And I do find that once you achieve these smaller goals, it kind of encourages you to keep going and to strive towards the bigger goal. And then
sustainable.
Exactly, small and sustainable. And then following that, maybe you can start taking some online classes. You can follow financial educators on all the social media players and social media channels. In addition to myself, of course, I don't even mean only me. There's so many amazing, incredible creators out there who really do want to teach. And of course, hire help. Hire a financial coach, hire a financial therapist, work with somebody and see how they can come up with a plan that's in line with your goals. If the idea of planning for yourself kind of feels super overwhelming, just, if you can afford to, pay someone else to do it for you and hold you accountable.
Other than following you, is there someone that you believe everyone should be like learning from and following, like as a resource? Is there like one person?
There's just so many amazing creators. Again, also depending on what your goals are. So in terms of paying off debt, I have a friend named Ian Builds Wealth on Instagram. He's really great with that. If you're someone who's more Gen Z and younger and really younger than us and the fuck the patriarchy mentality is really aligned with you and your soul, you have, what's her name? Her first K, she's huge. Vivian too, your rich BFF. Delian, the money coach. They're just so
I literally say if anyone wants a specific person to know to follow, they can reach out to you and ask you.
Yeah, perfect. If they want something specific, and of course I don't offer it, I'm happy to share the knowledge and the wealth with everyone else. But there are endless amounts of creators. You have creators that are specific to the Latin community, the Jewish community, the African American community, people in Europe, people in the UK, in Canada. Also, things are a bit more like geo-specific because of different tax laws and different, platforms that are accessible to you. So
what I want.
Also important.
I watched one of these shows on Netflix that was about money. I don't remember.
I Will Teach You to Be Rich.
One of them, something like that. I think there's 2 or 3. I watched them all. But one of them, they was saying, they talk about investment and investment portfolios and, stocks and things like that. Now, I think that's just in America, right? Because, like the 401 and all these different things that they were talking about. And I'm like, what are they talking about? And I don't think we have that in Europe or in Israel or any, so is there, how would you recommend, like, if you wanted to learn about investing and if you're not in the US?
So actually 97% of the knowledge is geo-transferable. It's not dependent on where you're from. So the skills can be applied from anywhere. I would say the only main differences there are 3 main differences. The first being the tax regulations. So the types of taxes that you pay on capital gains or the profit of your stocks, let's say, will be different based on the country of your residence and your tax obligation. So that's number one. Two, you have different naming conventions for the types of accounts. So, for example, maybe in the UK, you have something called like stocks and shares ISA and the pension account. In Israel, you have pension and Keren Ishtalmut. In the US, you have K and Roth IRAs or IRAs. You know what I mean? So
Just the name is different.
Exactly. The name and the objective. So maybe the goal or the objective of the account will be different. So I think generally speaking, every individual person, depending on what's available to them in their country, they need something with the objective of retirement. They need a tax advantaged account. Not every country has it. In Israel, it's the Keren Ishtalmut. In the US, it's the Roth IRA or the health savings account. So yeah, tax advantaged account. And then the third account is something called a brokerage account. And this I know is accessible to people pretty much everywhere. I've had clients from the US, Canada, UK, Spain, Italy, Israel, Argentina. And this is just a regular standard investment account with the intent that you can withdraw the money at any age. So it's not for retirement. It's just for whenever you want.
Okay. Awesome.
So those are the main differences.
Okay. What would you recommend to someone who is starting out on their financial independence education journey?
I would totally download my free ebook or watch my free masterclass. But aside from that, honestly, there are so many different resources. It depends how you actually like to receive knowledge and you like to learn. So if you love Netflix, then the TV show I Will Teach You to Be Rich is incredible. I think it's incredible because I nerd out over the subject, but I think it's incredible. The guy who hosts the show also has a book, and I think it's the same name, I Will Teach You to Be Rich. But there are so many different types of books out there, like that one, or The Psychology of Money, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It's endless. If you want, I can send you a list of books. I definitely have thousands of posts on it. So yeah, depending on that, you can start reading some books. You can follow some creators, like some of the ones I've mentioned, including myself on social media. But I would just say start learning however it is you like, however and wherever you like to learn.
I love it. I also feel like, for me, at least, it was kind of a necessity to start learning and exploring because I wanted to build a business, right? So a couple of years ago, I just started kind of going into that and very much being aware, as you said, of identifying the kind of beliefs that we have. And it's like, you got to know where you're starting and get clarity on where you're going. I think that literally that's exactly what we said. Identify the specific beliefs and then also the affirmations of what it is that you want for yourself, right? So and then closing that gap. So it's like, where are you at?
100%.
Where do you want to go? Okay, now let's see how we can get there, get ourselves there. I love that.
Absolutely.
Is there a tip or an exercise or something that you love to share or talk about that you could share with us right now that we can implement?
Okay. I feel like people always ask me what's my number one piece of money advice. And I think it comes from maybe a bit of a jaded place. So don't hate me for the way I expressed it, but it's more like never entrust your financial health in someone else's hands. And I think for me, after watching my parents fall victims to a Ponzi scheme by someone that they had, that was like a second cousin or something, like a close person I did all my holidays with my whole life. So even the people closest to you and screw you over when, even if they don't intend to, they still can. And then second, in my case, with the financial infidelity while I was in my last relationship, I feel very fortunate that I wasn't married to this person, but more than 50% of relationships end in divorce. Money is the number one cause of divorce. And if you are in a partnership, even if one person is maybe earning an income and the other is not, I think it's still really important for the person who isn't earning an income to understand what it means to have an income, how to live, how to invest, what your investments look like, what they mean for you, and just understand what's happening around you, because there is going to be a moment in time where you're going to have to know. And it's better to be proactive instead of being reactive in a moment where you feel kind of screwed. You don't want to have to put out the fire. You want to prevent it. So I think for me, that's one of the most important things I've learned.
I think it is so like, it's always like such a parallel process to just self-development in general and self-healing. It's like, take responsibility, own your shit, and like take matters into your own hands. Be like, I'm responsible for me and my own happiness and also my own financial independence, right? And that's it. Just like taking responsibility. I think that is the first step just in general in life.
Wow, 100%. However, I do want to say that I totally recognize and appreciate all of, especially women who end up being, stay-at-home moms. And I just think it's important for those women who do stay at home. And first of all, their roles are so important and so valued and severely underpaid, like they should be getting paid. In fact, with the amount of work that they're doing, it probably surpasses the amount of income someone gets paid in a corporate job. However, I think it's really important not to be oblivious as to what's going on with your household, even if someone else is making and managing the household finances. Because I've seen it so many times where I've had women that come from divorces and they're out of the workforce for many years. They're forced to get back in. Or, for example, I have a client right now who is dealing with the stress of alimony, but she doesn't understand where their finances stand. So she cannot actually calculate how much she should pay for rent for when she moves and leaves her house. Like, these are really important, day-to-day things that you should be aware of before you could possibly get into a situation that nobody expected, So I just think it's so important to just be in the know.
100%. I think that it's empowerment, right? It's like empower yourself that you can make informed and educated decisions. If anything arises, like be in a place where you feel like you're good. You got it. Like you got it under control. You know what you're doing.
Absolutely.
Okay. I love that. Okay. Is there anything else that you wanted to share or that you think we would benefit from knowing about going forward on our financial healing journeys?
For sure. I think, first of all, I think it's really important to just kind of like recognize where you're at, give yourself grace. None of us were taught financial literacy and financial education in school. So to give yourself grace if money feels overwhelming, it's not your fault. Nobody taught you. It literally wasn't a school subject, and just take accountability that there is a gap. Take some baby steps to give yourself that education, but just know that it is just like any other subject in school. Once you study it for a couple of hours of your time, really like just a few, like 2 or 3, you will be so much more knowledgeable. And that's all you really need to know in order to put yourself in a better position. It doesn't need to be looked at in such an overwhelming way. It just only feels overwhelming because no one held your hand and taught you.
100%.
I hope to leave your followers with that.
No. To that point, anything that is outside of our familiar and outside of our comfort zone is going to feel threatening to the system. So it's going to be overwhelming. We're going to freak out. We're going to be resisting it, right? So it's like so many of us as well, like resist our accounting and our finances, like getting on top of that shit. Maybe not you, because it seems that you from a very young age were on top of it. Like,
well, I hate taxes too. It's very overwhelming for me as well.
Yeah. I think we don't like to suck at things, right? Like we don't like to feel like we don't know what we're doing and this is outside of our comfort zone, and we also just don't like anything that's new and unfamiliar. But I think that it very much is, it's important that we do learn and that we do get, educate ourselves, empower ourselves, educate and equip ourselves to do this. I think that it is in a way, like, I'm not going to say our duty, but it is our responsibility, to be financially.
Right, because no one's going to save you except you, And what was I going to say? I think it's also like, it's one of those things where when you're doing well, you're going to feel fucking amazing. You know what I mean? So why not learn to position yourself so that you can feel amazing, alleviate any anxiety that you have, give yourself that peace of mind, because money is one of the number one causes of stress, divorce, etc. And if it's causing you stress, wouldn't it just be so much easier to kill the stress? I don't know. That's how I think about it.
I also just want to I want to wrap up on one point though. And I think this is something that I've noticed again and again, is that it's important what we do believe. And I feel like as well, you were in an environment where you saw abundance, you saw the wealth, you saw people achieving the financial independence and the financial kind of situation that you would like, right? And I think that it is very important for us to consume content and expose ourselves to transformational like success stories, specifically around money too. Like if you're in lack or scarcity or financial illiteracy, and you want to help yourself become more financial independent and literate and abundant, etc., then seek out examples of that, like to learn from, like role model wise. I'm constantly reading about and learning and listening and learning from people who are in a situation that I would want to be in, that have managed to transform their lives, that have managed to, I think for me, like it started with being inspired, that it's possible for me too, that I can do it too, that I can have that I can succeed. And I feel that a lot of people, their environment kind of reflects back to them where they're at. And it's like, if
110%.
get out of it, if you want your different reality, then surround yourself as much as you can, or expose yourself at least to people
Absolutely.
in that situation that you want, right? The desired one.
Exactly. And I think this is actually part of what inspired me to open my account to begin with, because I didn't realize how big of a gap there was between men and women within my own group of friends. So at this point, now that it's been 3 years and that I've had this business, all of my girlfriends have started to invest at this point. Because, I mean, not only have I just made them, but they were inspired. They wanted to better themselves. They decided to take like some of my courses or to ask me questions, etc. But it became a normalized topic of conversation, which in the past was very taboo. And I think it's on each one of us individually, especially women, to open up the dialogue with our own friends, even maybe your family, if you want to cross, go down that road. But I know if your friends aren't talking about it, then how are you going to know what possibilities are available to you, right? So talk about it with your friends, open up the dialogue, and just see what people think.
I love it. I love it. Thank you. You're amazing, Liz. Thank you.
Thank you.
And sharing your time with us today. Big thank you to everybody listening. I hope you found our conversation as inspiring and empowering and helpful as I did, learning about financial trauma and literacy and all the things connected to it. So if you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, rate, and review the podcast on your favorite platform. It will really help me reach more people and hopefully impact more lives. I'd also love to hear from you. What was your biggest takeaway from today? And if you want to reach out to Liz, all of her details will be in the description below, above, wherever it is that this is posted. Stay curious, stay informed, and stay tuned for more episodes coming your way. Liz, thank you again. Thank you. Lots of love.
Thank you so much. It was lovely being here.
Bye.
Bye.